Okay. So you fell down a few times, boo-hoo, but you knew to get back up, and that's the fight in you. Or how would you know what joy is if you never experienced any kind of pain? So when it comes to Bitcoin, Bitcoin was created out of crisis, and this is something that you need to understand. Not only in terms of why Bitcoin was created, but why it's such a necessity for us, not only today, but for our future. And I'll explain coming up. What's up, Crypto Land? Black Crypto here, bringing another cryptocurrency video where I talk about the basics of Bitcoin and everything else cryptocurrency. And in this video, I want to talk about the birth of Bitcoin and why a change was so needed for us. Not only in terms of a change in terms of our daily lives, but how we go about in terms of us using money. And not only thinking about money, but in terms of the government and how we think about the government also. Now, when I talk about this, we have to go back a little bit. And we're going to go back to 2008 during the financial crisis. I mean, this is something that we've all experienced in terms of the financial crisis. And this is one of the greatest financial crises that we've ever experienced since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And what happened with this is it all started with the depreciation of the subprime mortgage market. And this was in terms of a big uproar where it's developed into a big international banking crisis. And obviously, as you know, what ended up happening is then it prompted the governments to then go ahead and start bailing out the banks. And this is something that happened, and it was something that we did not like because we saw the effects of it. It was a negative effect of it that impacted us all personally. Whether you're a person that had a house in terms of you having a mortgage and now it's in foreclosure and you lost everything, whether it was in terms of businesses, whether it was in terms of your jobs, a lot of things was a trickle down effect because of this. But one thing that needed to happen was definitely a change. So because of this financial crisis, there's no doubt that some type of change needed to happen. And on October 31st, 2008, a paper was proposed and uploaded to an online forum with the name of Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system by an unknown author or authors by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, this paper then went on to describe disrupting banking and the control of the money supply. Essentially what that means is you controlling your own money and taking it out of the hands of, for instance, the government and institutions like the banks. So what ended up happening a few months later after they worked on this particular proposal, we saw the first block being mined in terms of the Bitcoin network. And what ended up happening is something very special happened. What happened is that Genesis block, which is the very first block, had a piece of text in it. And it read, "The Times, 3rd of January 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks." Now, this is very important because what it ultimately did is had a message from Nakamoto in terms of the creator, but also a timestamp. And this was really strategic because it happened right at this time in terms of this paper that came out on that exact same day. So with all of that, this references, in terms of Bitcoin being created, it references something that needs to happen in terms of us feeling that we can't go through a second bailout. We can't say that, we're going to have our taxpayers' dollars to bail out the banks again. I mean, they did it once before and we really did not see anything that happened. Because of that, we saw a lot of promises, which we know today really went half fulfilled in terms of that. So with this, in terms of the Genesis block being created, this not only did that, but this created some type of new financial system that our citizens can start trusting in. And this is one of the reasons why Bitcoin came about in the first place. The creation of Bitcoin is something that I can call innovation through crisis. In all honesty, we would have had the same effect when it comes to Bitcoin if it was created not in crisis. I mean, think about it. Because if we had this mysterious person by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto propose this system that can disrupt the banks and go against the government, we may have been looking at this person as some type of big old criminal or a rebel against the system. But because we went through that crisis and we kind of understood what happened because it touched us personally, we can kind of understand that why it might be important for us to control our own money. Not only that, it made us aware in terms of investing and in terms of looking at the government a little bit more closely when it comes to them printing money and spending money and trying to hold them accountable for what they're doing. Now, none of this may have been possible if we didn't go through this crisis. And if Bitcoin, for instance, came out today in terms of being proposed, it might have had a different effect. Now, let's go ahead and fast forward to today, which is 2020, and we're going through our own pandemic. A pandemic because of this particular virus. And this is causing an economic crisis all over again, and we're in fear of another Great Depression. Now, this is affecting many industries all over the world. Now, in terms of these industries, we're talking about, for instance, the stock market crashing, or for instance, the travel and leisure industry, because nobody wants to travel right now. Or how about the oil markets right now in terms of oil prices dropping because nobody's on the road and nobody wants to drive. Also in terms of unemployment at an all-time high all over again. Now with this bad news, we do have some good news because there are some businesses that are doing fairly well or are recession proof. Now, for instance, we're talking about like for the healthcare sector or non-clinical businesses, like for instance, educators, social workers, law enforcement and firefighters, funeral parlors, grocers. These are all businesses that are doing fairly well because of this. But in terms of individuals, for us, what we need to do is we need to start going out there and spending again to start stimulating the economy all over again. We can't start penny pinching and start holding on to our savings. We need to stimulate the economy. We can't rely on the government to do this, because we already see what they're doing in terms of just overstimulating it with stimulus checks or writing these trillion-dollar bills. We need to take accountability for them, and we need to start doing this ourselves in terms of stimulating the economy and going out there and start spending, start shopping again, and start innovating. Because in all honesty, if we're holding on to this money, it really doesn't matter what form of currency you have. Yeah, I know I'm telling you guys to go out there and start innovating and start spending your money, but let me give you just a little bit of hope and something to think about. In order to do that, we're going to have to backtrack again to 2000. And in 2000, we had the 2000 dot-com bubble. Now, this is when the stock market crashed due to excessive speculation into a lot of internet-related companies. And these companies just grew way too fast with a limited amount of users. I mean, let's think about it. Back in 2000, only about 400 million people were even connected to the internet. And if you think about it today, you have so many websites and platforms that have more than 400 million users just all to themselves. So this makes innovating a whole lot easier today, and also in terms of spending and businesses thriving today, a whole lot easier. Now, let me give you a little bit of examples when it comes to these particular technologies and companies, because of course a lot of companies fail, but there are a lot of companies and technologies that started that we still love to this day. Now, for instance, in 2001, we had the iPod Classic. Or in 2003, we had the birth of Skype, which revolutionized in terms of peer-to-peer communication. And we see that also not only with Skype, but now with, for instance, Zoom. Now, also we had in 2004, we had the founding of Facebook, which is the largest social media platform out there with well over 1 billion users. Also in 2005 was the start of Android, which is the largest smartphone operating system that we all use right now today. Also in 2005, we saw the start of YouTube, which you're probably watching this video on right now. Now, because of all of this, we would not know where we'd be if this crisis didn't happen and the opportunity for these particular companies to start. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you a few more examples to think about. In the 2008 crash, in 2008, because of the whole financial crisis, because of the subprime mortgages, we had the founding of Airbnb. And Airbnb came about in 2008 in terms of a way to let anyone who has a home rent out their space or rent out their whole entire home. So now you start making some extra income and probably pay off your mortgage. Now in 2009, who took a little bit off of that business model was Uber, that was also founded. And they allowed people to take their cars and start transforming the way that we look at transportation. I mean, back then it was something kind of odd to say, hey, rent out your home to just anybody. Now you need to go to a hotel, or hey, for instance, I'm going to just pick up a stranger and drive them there where they want to go. Now we don't even think about it whatsoever. Also in 2009, we saw the birth of Square. And Square transformed the way that we look at payments and transacting with merchants. Now, of course, a lot of this happened because this was built upon pre-existing technology, which was the internet. So when you fast forward to today, what can possibly happen? What kind of companies can come about now today as we now embark on a new technology in terms of this blockchain technology and in terms of cryptocurrency? What would be the next company that would start because of that? Of course, we saw in 2012 the birth of Coinbase. Now, Coinbase is pretty much the largest cryptocurrency exchange out there where you can go and buy Bitcoin. It's like an online bank for cryptocurrency. But what other technology will be spurred off from this Bitcoin and this blockchain technology? What other company will come about? And that's something that we have to hope for in the future. Now you know what Bitcoin is and how it was started due to crisis. The only question is now is what company is going to start or use this technology in terms of blockchain technology and build upon that. Maybe we might see the next multi-trillion-dollar company because of this. I do know you as an entrepreneur, this is the time to do that right now, to start innovating, to build a company, or maybe you're just a person that wants to just use Bitcoin and stimulate the cryptocurrency economy. Go out there and do that. Now, one of the things that I want you to also consider, one of the largest venture capital funds, which is known as Andreessen Horowitz. Now, this company raised over $515 million just recently, and they were oversubscribed because they were only asking for $450 million. And this fund is going to be specifically focused on blockchain startups. So if you're a person out there that want to innovate in terms of this space, this is the time to do it now because there is a lot of money in this space. And that's something for you to also think about. If there's so much money in the space in terms of looking for that next big company, that should give you some confidence when it comes to cryptocurrency as a whole. So what kind of company are we going to see in the future? Maybe a company that uses blockchain technology with artificial intelligence or virtual reality. Who knows? Or maybe the Internet of Things. Go out there and start creating, because through crisis, that doesn't mean that it's all over. That just means that you now have a fresh start. So there you have it, guys. I mean, that's the birth of Bitcoin. I mean, if we didn't have this crisis, do you think we would have had Bitcoin? I mean, still, regardless, we have some great companies that have been birthed because of crisis in the past. Now, with this blockchain technology, who knows what the future is going to hold? What company is going to start using this technology and transform the way that we live? But I know that I'm going to be here just to watch and see what's going to happen. I'm going to participate in this economy, and I'm going to start trying to innovate myself in terms of products that I work on myself, and I'm going to be bringing that to you. Now, what I want you to do is also leave it a comment below. Let me know what company you think might come about because of this, or what kind of industry might be transformed because of this blockchain technology. Guys, I'm Black Crypto. Thank you for checking out another cryptocurrency video. Make sure you hit that like button so you'll help me get this video recommended out to everybody. And also, you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified anytime I release any new videos right here on my channel. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.